So hello everyone, it is your girl Beauty87 here, aka Grace, and today we're gonna get into some of my favorite grungy jewel toned palettes in addition to some of my favorite smoky tone palettes. So I organized them in a way where it was like these are jewel toned grungy beginner friendly palettes are the first stack, and the second stack is just some of my favorite ones overall, and then the third stack of like some limited edition ones that you can't get anymore that I think they're fools for discontinuing. And then the last set is going to be like literally just the smoky ones. I don't have like them set up as far as beginner friendly smoky versus just smoky, but with the grungy ones I do, because I own so many grungy palettes, because you know I am a lover of grungy eyeshadow. So let me take a drink of my Coke so we can get started, because y'all know I talk a lot and it's gonna take a while. Hold please. Okay, random side note. Which eye do you prefer? Are you feeling this eye? Are you feeling this eye? Because I did a battle up there with two different honey-esque looking palettes, and curious to know what your thoughts are. So let me know down below which eye you like better. I'm kind of feeling this one, but I like the way the shimmer and the dark smokiness looks on this one. So I have mixed feelings, but you know, I know which palette is which. Let me know which one you like best, okay? Now let's actually get started, because like I said, I talk too much, and you clearly see that, because I haven't even talked about what we here for. We like a minute and 25 seconds in. Okay, so the first one I have is a jewel tone palette, a grungy jewel tone palette. This is a Persona Cosmetics Identity 2 palette. I was so excited when they came out with a new palette, because I feel like they do like ABH style when it comes to palettes. Like they don't release them quite as often as other brands do, and I appreciate that, because it's like, you know, sometimes you get overwhelmed with palettes. I'm sitting here overwhelmed with all these palettes, but you know, I love all of them for different reasons. But I love this one because it's like a nice jewel tone, dark to light grungy-ish type of palette, and she did more color than she normally does, because her first palette was literally just a smoky palette. You might see that a little bit later. I gotta remember if I have it in my collection still or not. I don't know, but it's in the old packaging. It won't be in this new packaging like she changed it to. But I feel like this is definitely a beginner friendly jewel tone grungy-ish type palette. So if you like, or if you want to venture and dive into color, her formula is really nice and easy to use. It's not a very pigmented one that's going to build up a lot, so you don't have to worry about having too much color impacting your eyes at one time. And I really like the color story of this, because it gives you some pops of color. It gives you like a little dark vampy section here, and I feel like you can go row by row and make a look at it and not be difficult and overwhelming for you if you're not a creative or unique person, but you want to play with color. So Persona Cosmetics, I feel like did a great job with this palette. Can you stay open please? And I definitely think you all should try it out. So my battery of course wants to die now that we've talked about the first palette, so hold please while I go get another one, girl. Okay, so the next easy to use a palette is, our beginner friendly I should say, it's Viseart Dark Edit palette. So this is what it looks like on the inside. I feel like these mattes are really easy to blend. It's another jewel tone grungy palette that I'm obsessed with and absolutely love. I will say this is one of the few mini Viseart palettes that I feel like are similar to the big palettes, you know, the big $80 ones. I feel like this formula is actually similar to that one, and all the palettes like this, I wouldn't say that they are, even though other people say they are. In my personal opinion, they are not. So that's why I'm telling you, this one I feel like it's just as good as the $80 palette. And this is one of the, I believe this is a $35 palette or $38. I forgot the exact number, but this is a really good palette, again, if you want dark grungy shades and if you want an easy to work with formula, because Viseart's formula isn't really that powdery. It doesn't look like much when you swatch it, but it does give good color pigmentation, and it does blend out easily and nice. So this is a really nice palette for you to try out. So when they have their sales, or if you see this on sale on Beauty Bay or on what is it, Muse Beauty, or just Viseart site in general, I would definitely think you should try it out. It's one of my favorite little grungy palettes to try out, and I made sure I left it here at my grandmother's house, so when I have a grungy moment and I want to use Viseart, I can. Now of course the big daddy was going to be in this video. This is the Viseart Dark Matte palette. I don't know if they're discontinued this or what's going on, because I saw that it's no longer on Sephora. Like it went 50% off and then it just disappeared, and I was like, don't be discontinuing my palette. Y'all can keep that boring ass warm neutrals palette, but you can't keep my palette. No, that's a problem. You need keeping this one. This one is a moneymaker. This one is the gold. This one is the one I absolutely love. As you can see, I have not dipped into this red or this shade at all, but I've dipped into literally every other shade in this palette, because of course if you're new to this channel, hi, my name is Grace. We like blue, like green, we like purple. So of course those are the ones I dipped into. I actually dipped into the warm shade a little bit though in the summertime, just to pair with my Pat McGrath quads, if you will. The Blitz Astro ones that she came out with in 2000, I want to say it's 2019. Those are the best Pat McGrath Christmas collection, random side note. Besides the palette she came out with last year, that was amazing. But anyway, this palette, this one right here, this is by Grungy, what my grungy dreams are made of. When I want a grungy matte look and I want to use those quads, I automatically think of grabbing for this palette. This palette is amazing. I was one of those people who tried one of the little palettes and was like, yeah, it's not worth it. But then once I tried this one, I was like, okay, now I see what the hype is. This one I loved, and this was my favorite color story. It was 50% off on, like I said, Sephora a while ago. I don't know what happened to it, but if you can get your hands on it or find it somewhere, grab it because it is amazing. The next palette I have to talk about is from Shroud Cosmetics. That used to be what is it, Strobe Cosmetics, but this is the Arcania palette. This is another example of a muted, like, grungy jewel tone palette. As you can see, you have your warm tone side over here. If you like warm tones, you have your cool tone side over here, or you can mix the two sides together however you feel like it. Like, you can put this pink with this blue, you can put these golds with this green. Like, you can make it work however you see fit. I really like this palette, and I think it's like really easy to use, so that's why I put it in the beginner friendly section, if you will, because the mattes blend out pretty nicely. The shimmers are really buttery and nice on the lid, and it's just a gorgeous palette overall. This is one of my favorite Shroud Cosmetics palettes. When I first tried the brand, I wasn't necessarily interested in the first two. Creepy Cute was a really cute palette, but y'all gotta think about, with my skin tone, pastels don't really work that well. So when I saw this one coming out, I was like, yes, I need this one. So they ended up having a bundle sale where you could get like 3 for $100. So I got each one of these for like 33 bucks, and then I used somebody's code. So they have 3 palettes. This is just my personal favorite, along with one I'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, like this one, this is a great beginner friendly palette. Now keep in mind, Shroud is not cheap, but the quality is definitely worth the price that they charge you. So I would definitely say check out that one. These are just palettes that I think would be best for you. Now we're getting into a little bit more expensive ones. Not that Viseart isn't expensive. That $80 one is. I showed you an affordable Viseart, and then I showed you the, you know, like more high-end Viseart. Now we're gonna get into some Mented Cosmetics. So of course the Gemini palette just had to be in here because it helps you with dive into the grunginess from the black shade on down with the greens. But then if you're kind of scared to try that side, you can always do this cute little neutral side up here where you don't have to do too much work. I am living for this side mainly. Of course this side is good if you need to a rush and you don't have time to blend and do extra work, but this side is good if you're in a really grungy fun mood and want to try it out. Now I wouldn't say this is the easiest formula to work with, but it's not that bad as compared to some other melt palettes that have been bad or good. They've been on an on and off roller coaster thing going on since they started doing palettes. I feel like when they had their stacks, they were more like, you know, you could count on the quality and it was fine, but when they got to these palettes, for some reason they couldn't transfer that formula over there, or maybe I don't know what happened. But this is a good color story for starter. I just don't know if it's necessarily like beginner friendly with blending. I haven't played with it a while, so I can't honestly tell you. But I figured I would throw it in there, like, you know, why not, since that's the first palette they came out with. The next one I have is the Sigma Untamed palette. Now to me, this is like somewhat grungy and jewel toned, and I love the formula on these palettes. I feel like they're easy to work with. My girl Karen Harris got me to try out this brand because I saw her quarter roast video. I was like, oh, that's cute, that's nice, but you know, I'm not a warm tone girl, so I don't care. But then I saw that Sigma came out with this palette, and then Karen was raving about how nice the formula was on it. So I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and try it. And then Karen was right. This formula on this is really nice, and I think this is a nice grungy muted color story. Again, they give you like a little nice plummy section over here, and then they give you a little green section and blues and purples, which is more my section. But overall, I like the color story of this as a whole, and I definitely find this is a grungy and smoky tone mixed type palette. So if you're interested in trying it out, Sigma actually had a 40% off sale recently, so you could have got this on a great deal. But I'm sure they'll have another sale, and you can always use someone's code to get a discount. Plus sometimes Sigma goes on sale on Beautydealsbff, so I would definitely tell you to check out Beautydealsbff sale section, because sometimes they just randomly have things on sale and you don't know. So check out Beautydealsbff section, and then maybe you can wait for Black Friday sale and make for a good deal for that palette, because I really like it. But I feel like it's a little bit expensive, I guess because I always look at Sigma as a brush brand. I don't necessarily look at them as a makeup brand, that's why. But it's a good palette nonetheless. The last beginner friendly palette I have to talk about is the Natasha Denona Safari palette. Now her formula is really nice and blends really easily. The only thing is with this palette, it can get muddy, because I know Mel Thompson said she tried to do a look with like all, like just the top row on its own. She had horrible experience. She actually says this is the worst Natasha Denona palette. I respectfully disagree and think the Tropic palette is the worst one, but I didn't have any issues with this palette. But then again, after hearing her information, and aside from the fact that, I mean, like these colors wouldn't necessarily work on my skin tone well anyway, I'd have to only use like a couple of them. I wouldn't be able to do a monochromatic look, in my personal opinion, the way that she was going to. So I think that this, now this to me isn't as grungy. This is like a beginner's friendly light version of a grungy palette, but I still want to put it in here because when I do certain looks or when I'm going to use certain things, I automatically think of this as the grungy palette I would use. So I figure it's a nice soft beginner friendly grungy palette. A lot of times this palette goes for 50% off at Sephora, just because I guess a lot of people were like Mel Thompson and wasn't that big a fan of it, along with the Tropic and palette. So you know, you might be able to catch it on a good deal. But I really like this palette. I think it's a good beginner friendly palette for someone who wants to try grungy shades and doesn't know what to do, because you have plenty of those neutralist shades and other shades that people feel are safe and comfortable. I feel like the only really grungy-esque looking shades are at the very top row, and if you don't want to use them, you don't have to, but you still have 2 other rows you can use. And then if you feel like being playful and trying out, you can use the top row that I showed. Okay, so now let's get into the ones that I just absolutely love for grungy purposes. Or maybe, should I do the limited edition ones and then this big ass stack last? Yeah, we're gonna do the somewhat limited edition things in this stack and then go from there. So I have the Lime Crime Prelude palette. If you all remember when this first came out, I was in love with it. I actually bought you all one in a giveaway I did last year, just because I really love the color story of this. To me, this is a great grungy little palette, but I feel like Lime Crime is known for having like grungy, unique color stories for the most part. So when I saw this one, I just knew I had to have it in my collection. This is the only Lime Crime palette I own besides the holiday one they came out with. I think it's called the Greatest Hits or something. But this color story really spoke to me, so I just had to have it in my collection. Like, look at this. I feel like this bottom row is definitely a look that I would do on its own, or you could like pair this matte with it. The only thing I'll say is it's more shimmer heavy than anything else, because there's 3 mattes and everything else is shimmers. So you only have these 2 dark ones to work with, and this really light one that I have to dust over everything. So if you don't really like dark, vampy, grungy looks, I don't see you liking this one. I see you liking the Natasha Denona one a little bit better than I showed, or maybe some of these other ones I'm going to show later on. But I don't think this one is limited edition. It was just sitting on top of the stack with some other stuff that's limited edition. But this is a gorgeous grungy palette and one of my favorites to pull for fall. So if you all did know, I just do grungy stuff all year long, or whenever I feel like it. Like, I just got the Not Normal palette from Alien Cosmetics, and I'll be doing a video on that literally right after we're done with this. Is it over here, or did I leave it on the bed? I left it over there on the bed because I was going to show it in my grungy palette collection video, but because that's what this is. But yeah, I'll grab it last, and it'll be the last thing I show since I have to do a video on it. But the next one I have is the Good Sport palette here. Now, we all know this is like one of the best ColourPop palettes that ever exist. I don't know what the hell made them think that they need to get rid of this palette. Like, ColourPop makes bad decisions, like putting pressed glitters in palettes and sequin shades, but then getting rid of one of the best palettes they've had. I don't know what they're doing with life. I don't know. But this palette is simply gorgeous, stunning, and a grungy lover's dream. Like, this is one of my all-time favorite ColourPop palettes, like all the time. This is it. So I will not be letting go of this ever. Okay, you have to put it in the casket with me. We're not getting rid of it, or they're gonna have to cremate it with me. I don't care. But this is a ColourPop that I will never get rid of. And if they're smart, they do a surprise thing and bring it back for the fall, because it's just absolutely stunning. Look at it, y'all. I remember the first time I got it, I did a look with it, and I was just obsessed. And then I found out they were discontinued. I was like, they're fools. So if you can find this on somebody's Macari, girl, grab it, snatch it with the quickness. You should not be disappointed. Now, I don't know how long they would have had theirs, so I don't know if the formula would have changed on it, but it's my favorite ColourPop, one of my favorite ColourPop palettes of all time. The next 2 palettes I have to talk about are from ABH. So I have Subculture and Prism. These are some of my favorite grungy palettes. Now, I have the original formula, not the reformulated one that they sent to TJ Maxx and then it went away to die. But the color story of this, you can't deny, is a grungy lover's dream. Like, when I saw this palette, because I could care less about Modern Renaissance. I'm not even going to front with you. I don't care. But when I saw this right here, I was like, okay, ABH, I see you. You have my full undivided attention. I'm yours. Take me. and just give me that palette. So this color story is a dream. It's amazing. Now this shade Electric to me was really difficult to work with. I was fine with the super pigmented mattes. I mean, to me it just helps you become a better artist by when you get a difficult palette and you overcome it and make it work for you. So I was fine with it for that reason. I feel like that's what helped me work with a lot of pigments in the future, like the Color Rain Vivid and Shadow Vivid Pigments and Shadows palette helped me a lot too, because I feel like it was a little bit difficult to work with. So I like palettes like this just because it helps you become a better artist in my personal opinion. Plus the color story in this is gorgeous. That can't be denied. Same goes for Prism. Like when they were doing these weird, colorful, cool color stories, I was all about it. And of course no one else was. Like when I saw people review this, like nobody was using this Sphere shade. Nobody was using this Throne shade. Like nobody was using the fun shades. Everybody was just playing it safe, like this little corner over here and like this corner over here that I love. Everybody was just like ignoring. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, do you not see all the fun colors in this palette? Like, why are you just playing with this little boring section over here? But teach his own. Whatever. I had fun with this palette. I enjoyed this palette. I love this palette. It's a palette I will hold on forever. I wish they would do more cool, fun, colorful stuff like this instead of playing it safe with the same boring things that they keep doing. But I guess that's what Norvina's collection is supposed to do. But it's just giant, colorful palettes. It's not giving me grunge. It's not giving me anything. Although her new purple one does look nice and I do want to grab it, but I'm not gonna rush to get it. But those are just two other color stories I really like. Now, you know I couldn't do a grungy jewel tone video without doing one of Mother's most coveted palettes. She had to come out with 3-4 different times separately instead of just, I'm guessing it's finally permanent now as many times as people asked her to bring it back. But this is the Mothership, what is it, is it 4 or 5 Decadence? I know this is Decadence, but I just don't remember what number Decadence is. Let's look at the box. It's number 4. I was right. Okay. So this is what she looks like. This is a jewel tone lover's dream. Like I love to pair this with the Viseart Dark Mattes palette I just showed you. This is another palette I like to pair it with. I feel like the Makeup by Mario palette he came out with was similar to this too when it came to like the tones in it. But I just brought Mother's with me because I didn't think about that one until like right now when I opened this one. But yeah, Mother definitely gives me grungy, colorful jewel tone vibes with this. So when I think of grungy, I think of jewel tones. Or I think of really unique, dark, vampy color stories. And then I have, like I told you, a little smoky section that we're going to talk about toward the end. But it's only like 4 or 5 palettes in that. So if you can make it through all this, you can make it through 4 or 5 palettes too, girl. Okay? Sorry I keep leaning over, but I have to put the palettes on the bed because there's not that much space where I'm sitting. Because I have like boohoo palettes. The next palette I have to talk about is Playing and Makeup with Yolanda. I know I'm late to the party. Y'all told me I was late to the party, but this is Jamrock's No Limitation palette. When I saw this palette initially, I was like, ooh, yes, I want to get it. And then I patiently waited because I didn't know if you all were going to want to watch it or not. But look at this. Tell me this isn't like a jewel tone lover's dream. Like, look at all these dark, vampy shades in this palette. I know there's a lot of like brighter shades in here too, so this could be more like a jewel tone, grungy combination-ish type palette. Either way, I love this palette. I am so glad I got my hands on this palette. The formulation on this palette is beautiful. I do remember one of you all telling me that like you found the blue to be a little patchy. I did too from what I remember doing the video with. But like the majority of the colors blended just fine and worked just fine. You just have to put a little bit more work into the blue, which is kind of disappointing because y'all know blues are my favorite eyeshadows. So the fact that you have to do that, but you know, I'll take that L because it's just so beautiful and it's such a gorgeous color story and it's such a beautiful formula of the shadow. So I'll just take the L and keep moving. But that's just another black owned brand for you. I'm trying to make sure I do my duty and show you black owned brand. And here's another one. This is the Mented Cosmetics and Mented Cosmetics Genesis palette. So when I first saw this palette, I was like, yes, this color story is all me. Look at how many blues in this palette. And then they have a nice little vampy pinkish purple section. And then they have like a few nudes for people who like nudes. I did look with this palette. Y'all didn't seem to really like be super interested in it, but the look turned out bomb. And I loved it. I loved working with this palette, so I'm glad that it's in my collection. I think they recently brought it back, so if you want to get it, you can definitely go to Mented Cosmetics and get it. I know Neon MUA has a code. I'm pretty sure Karen Harris has a code as well, so if you want to use code Cage Makeup, you want to use code Neon MUA, you can go ahead and do that. And I actually have Darius's palette on right now, his Dawn to Dusk palette. So I have the bronzer on and then I have the blush on because my palette doesn't have the highlighter in it, but you know, I have on it everything else that's in the palette except for the highlighter and the contour. Anyway, the next palette I have to talk about is the Beauty Bean and Shroud Cosmetics It's Freaking Bats palette. Now, how could you not put this grungy, cool palette in this video? Like, look at this color story. I think she did an excellent job with it. I've done about 3 looks with this palette, and I want to do some more with it just because I really love the color story of it. I didn't do a video or Instagram or anything on it just because it took like 8 months to get here, and I was like, are y'all really even gonna care anymore? No. So I didn't do it. It had nothing to do with her. It's just, since it took forever to get here, it's like this channel works on palette reviews coming quick like that. So since it took so long, I figured you wouldn't care, because other people, I felt like I was like one of the last people to get their pre-order in the mail. So I was like, I'm not even gonna do that. But that doesn't take away from the color story of this being gorgeous, the formula of this being amazing, like I just talked about with the Arcania palette. It doesn't take away that I still watch Beauty Bean and love Beauty Bean's content and her eyeshadow creation. So congratulations to her on this palette. I love it. I just didn't feature it because I felt like its moment had passed as far as like me showing it, because you know, collection's almost a year old. The next palette I have to talk about is the Codain palette. So I'm trying to decide if I should talk about this and Anhydrous as well, if I should just stick to the Codain palette. I think I'm gonna just stick to the Codain palette since this is the latest one. But this is what it looks like on the inside, and what I like about this is it has a whole bunch of shifting shimmer shades in here, and then it helps me utilize my matte palettes because there's only 2 mattes in here. So if I don't want to use these 2 mattes, I have to reach for the Viseart matte palette, or I have to reach for the Safari matte palette, or I'd have to reach for one of my matte palettes, and that way I can get use out of more than one palette in my collection, which is something I like to do anyway. So this palette just encourages me to do so, which I really like. Plus, I just really like the shimmer formulation on these shadows. Not that the mattes are bad, because the matte formulation is really nice as well. It's just since she gives you a limited amount of mattes, I mainly want to talk about the shimmer formula because that's the majority of what you're getting in here. It is gorgeous. It is wonderful. She always comes up with the coolest grungy color stories. Like the first palette she came out with, Plain Jane, I was like, oh, that's cute. But then like Anhydrous hit and I was just like, yes. And then Codain hit and I was just like, yes. And I was just like, yes, I'm living for all of these things. I'm just living. I'm living. So I definitely implore you to go check out Mented Cosmetics. They have wonderful products. I love their eyeshadows. They're awesome. I actually, wait, did I just, no, I'm waiting to get Plain Jane again. I bought a Plain Jane, but I put it in the giveaway for you all, and we're almost there, you guys. We're only like 3 followers away from being at 500, so I can put the giveaway up. So you just have to wait around for that, so then you can see the Plain Jane palette and all the stuff I got. I'm gonna try to do a live for the giveaway and the 500 like celebration or whatever, but I have to see if Mr. Adriangameover can help mommy out with that, because I will be on the struggle bus otherwise. Anyway, the next palette I have is the Smoke Sessions palette. So this is what she looks like. This is what she looks like on the inside. I think this is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous palette and color story. Y'all know this is definitely my aesthetic. I got my smoky side right here, and then I got all my blues and my greenish tones on this side. This palette is what made me fall in love with Mented Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes, because Gemini came out, that was cute. What was the other one? 27, I think that's what it's called. 27 came out. I didn't even buy that one. Then this one came out for the holidays, and that's when I was like, okay, Mented is my brand now. Like, they get me, they understand me, they're all about these smoky, cool, grungy vibes. And I bought this, and I haven't like looked back since when it comes to buying Mented palettes as a general rule, although there have been a couple of duds, and I'm gonna show like one of the duds next. But I still love the color story, so I felt the need to share it. But don't buy it at a regular price. This one, buy it at a regular price. And I didn't get the first set where like the shimmers were like puffing up out of the pan. I ended up missing the Black Friday deal, so I actually bought mine on 420 the next year. And I'm so glad I did, because as you can see, mine aren't puffing up or doing anything of the sort. So God knew. And I tell the Lord thank you, because I'd have been so upset getting that as my first palette from them, because I didn't buy Gemini when it first came out. I waited till like after I got Smoke Sessions, and then I bought Gemini at the same time. But next palette I have to talk about is the 420 palette. So this is 420 from Melt. Everyone thinks this palette is terrible. I'm not even gonna front. Like, I love the colors in here, but they are not easy to work with. Like, like when I put the green on in the video, it was going on patchy. I told y'all it was going on patchy, so I didn't try to pretend like it wasn't. I like a good majority of the shades in here though, so I'm thinking about swapping some of these with the ones in the Gemini palette that I showed you all. That's why I had them together initially, because I'm going to take some shades out and move them around and make it to what I like, and then, you know, we can go from there. But this is what she looks like. The color story, as you can see, is gorgeous. This shimmer shade in here is terrible though. So I'm mainly showing this as like a collection piece for me, just because I really love the color story and the aesthetic of it. But I don't necessarily think that you should buy it unless you can get on a really good deal and you don't mind like working with shadows. Because honey, you're going to have to, like Rihanna say, work, 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 work. You're going to have to work, y'all. You're going to have to work, because it's not just going to work itself out like magic. You don't have to work. But if you don't mind working, just go ahead. That's why it wasn't in the easy section, because honey, I'd have been sending so many people off in line and that'd have been horrible. The next palette I have is limited edition, and I am so sorry if you didn't get your hands on it. Please don't yell at me because you didn't get your hands on it. Just yell at Melt and tell them to bring it back, because everybody wants this palette. This is the Morte palette from Mented Cosmetics. I do have Vita as well, but it doesn't fit the narrative of this video, which is grungy. It's not grungy. It's more bright, colorful, summertimey, if you will. But honey, Morte, like, this is definitely a palette and a love of mine. Do you see it? Honey, do you see it? This is gorgeous. This is just like a palette dream for me. I have my dark to light green shades. I have my dark grungy blue shades. I have some nice Christmassy red shades, since it came out around Christmas time. And you have a bright inner corner shade for all of what's going on in the palette as a whole. Or if you're a person who puts shades on your brow bone, you can put this on your brow bone and it just looks amazing. Like, just look, honey, look at it. It is just, I mean, let's just take a moment. I don't even talk, just like this Little Mermaid. It's just beautiful. And I'm sorry if you didn't get your hands on it. Like I said, go yell at Milk, tell them to bring it back. That's all I can say. Tell them to bring it back. So the rest of the palettes, we got one more matte palette, and the rest of the palettes are going to be collab palettes from other YouTubers. But yeah, this is the Waiting Room. Now, I know a lot of people said they didn't like this one in the Recent Deceased palette because a lot of the colors are similar, and I definitely agree. Like, look at all these different reds, y'all. Like, I mean, I know you get different tones in the reds. Like, this one is lighter than this one, and then this one has a pinkyish bluish glitter undertone, and then this one is more of a deep vampy brickish type red, whereas this is a more brightish red. So it's like, I get there's all these different tones of red, and I can appreciate that, but that still is a lot of red. And then with the grays, like, they look really similar. Like, this one just seems to be slightly lighter than this one, and then you have the black shade in this. So it's like, I get that a lot of color story is really similar, but it doesn't change the fact that I love it. I'm glad to have it in my collection. Plus, I love this new packaging that they did. This acrylic packaging. I was like, yes, I'm here for it. I'm living its life. I want it. Give it to me now. So I bought both of those. It seems like when they do holiday collections, that's when they really stick their foot in the formulas of the palettes. And then some places throughout the year, when they do release palettes, they do. Because lately they've been releasing more and more. But I heard when you get in Sephora, you have to release a certain amount of things. So I don't know if that's why they felt rushed to push out that Millennial Pinks palette. And then another palette that people said they didn't like, I think it was like the Rust Stack. So I don't know if they had to push those things out quicker than they wanted to, just because they had gotten to Sephora. Because I noticed once they got into Sephora, I felt like formulas and things weren't working as well as they used to. So I'm thinking it might just be they have to rush production on certain things, and that's why they're not as good as they used to be, because they got mainstream and inside Sephora. I'm hoping that's what it is, and they're not just being lackadaisical, because they know they've built up a brand where people will just buy it no matter what, because I hate when people do stuff like that. So, and since I love Melt, I would hate to think that that's what it is. But you know, it's not as consistent as it used to be. So I do need to make note in light of that, even though I am a Melt fan. So the next one I have is the Temptalia and Sydney Grace collection. So I have all three palettes. My favorite is Quintessential, and in the video I kept saying, I think it's Quintessent. I kept saying Quintessential in the video. So I have all the deep version, of course, because I am deep. I did find it interesting though that a lot of people wanted to buy the deep version even though they were light. So I thought that was like interesting, but I don't know, maybe they just like darker, vampier shades for the outer V, and that's why they wanted to buy the ones that were for me. But this is the Quintessent palette. This is actually one of my favorites. Like, look at that color story. It's like a unique version of a grungy color story. Because I don't usually think of like I guess the pink and like these darker tones over here to go with the tones that are in here. So I really like the fact that she came up with this uniqueness. But I heard you're supposed to pair these with like your favorite mattes, and this is supposed to be like an add-on shimmer palette, kind of like that Pat McGrath one I showed you earlier. So that's what this one looks like. I love the way this palette looks though. It's just so aesthetically pleasing. I just love looking at it. The next one I have is On the Horizon. This is my least favorite of the three, but I did want to show it because I do feel like it's a more muted, like earthy tone version of a grungy palette. And if you like more muted down colorful tones, I feel like this one would be a good one for you. I know my girl Dr. Ash and her makeup really liked this one. This was the only one that she bought, but it's personally my least favorite one. I've heard a lot of other people say this is their least favorite one out of all three as well. The funny thing is the one I was most excited for is like my second favorite instead of my first favorite, which is the one I just showed you, and that of course is the Radiant Reflection. I feel like when I open it you'll know why. Now this is definitely the more jewel toned version of all of the palettes. I really like it. Look at it. It's simply stunning. And I'm definitely here for it. It's a gorgeous grungy color story, and I really love it. It's more like on the jewel tone end. As you can see, it's like mattes and then shimmers, and it's like you can go down each row and just do a quick eye look in your brush, or you can like combine them and do as you please. But I would like add my Viseart Dark Mattes palette I showed you earlier with this if I wanted more deeper grungy tones, or I might get into that Jamrock palette to get more of the colorful tones to go with the blues and the purples. So I can see how these would be add-on palettes, just because there are a few mattes, but it's like if you want deeper mattes or if you want certain tones, you can reach into other palettes. But you can do that with any palette. But you know, I understand why she said that it's an add-on palette now. So the last one I have to talk about in the grungy color story palettes is the Club Nebula and what is it, Angelica Niquas. I hope I said that right. I always feel like I'm saying her name wrong. This is from her and Kaleidos. I have to say I really love the color story of this palette. It is definitely grunge. It gives you the light, what is it, warm tones that people like. Then you get all the cool tones and colors that I prefer, which are toward the top. I have used this roll a couple times though, and it wasn't like it was bad. Like the quality of it's good. It's just, as we all know, I'm a cool tone queen, so these colors aren't really speaking to me as much as the other two are. But she said she did the palette and to where like the colors that she likes the best and she uses the most in it, which of course would make sense. And she likes to use a lot of the colors I like to use apparently, because the two rows toward the top are the ones that I prefer, and this is the row that I use occasionally. So it's a gorgeous palette. She did a great job. I love the fact that she's one of those people like me that use a lot of dark mattes. So there would be a lot of dark mattes in this palette, because I feel like that's where a lot of palettes are lacking. And I appreciate her adding that in there. So these are really great. I'm sorry, this is a really great palette, and I'm happy to have it in my collection. I just feel bad for whoever didn't get it, because like people are selling it on Mercari for like $100 and $200 and all that. And I'm like, not that it's not a good quality palette, but it's like if she wasn't selling it for that, then why am I going to pay you that? So now we're getting to the smoky ones. Now, I don't have that many smoky ones, so this shouldn't take that long. I'm going to start off with one from the Makeup Shack, because I feel like people don't really talk about the Makeup Shack that much. They have really nice brushes. I know Kirsten Dominique uses their brushes. I haven't personally tried them, but she says they're really nice, so that's what I'm going off of. I wanted to try their eyeshadow palettes because I saw my girl Lily Living Life and Colorful Camille had some of them. So I was like, okay, well, let me, you know, try them out and see how they work. So I got this one, the Enthusiast. This is what it looks like on the inside. As you can see, it's more of a like mauve-y smoky tones type palette. It has like those marbled shimmers in there like the Huda Beauty New Nude palette had, because I feel like that's the first person I saw actually do those shimmers. I could be wrong, I don't know. Please let me know if somebody else has done it before, but I really like this palette for that reason, and I got it at a great deal. I think it's like $6 or $7. They had a sale every day on their website of the week, and I just waited for the day of the sale of eyeshadows, and then I bought like a whole bunch. So I got like 2 or 3 that's coming up in the 500 giveaway for you all here on YouTube. So you'll see those when we get there, but we're almost there, so you just have to wait and see. The next palette I have to talk about is another melt palette. I told y'all I'm a melt stand, so I have them. Now I wasn't gonna buy this palette unless it went on sale, and then it ended up going on sale. I believe it was on Beautydealsbff. That's why I told y'all to check out Beautydealsbff, because they have a lot of stuff on sale. And make sure you sign up for the email program, because sometimes they email you just codes randomly. Like they email me a 10% off like Friday, and then they email me like a mystery code like another day. So it's like they'll email you codes and you can get discounts, and then you can always just go check the sale rack to see what they have, because sometimes they have American brands on sale that aren't on sale in America, but they're on sale over there. Like Kirsten Dominique's brand is on sale over there a lot of times. So like her new transition palette, if you don't have BoxyCharm, you couldn't get it. It's on sale over there right now for like 30% off. So I'm gonna go check that out. But anyway, this is the She's and Parties. The funny thing is I did not buy the stagger list when it first came out, because it wasn't that exciting to me. I do like mauve vampy colors, but it's like, I don't know, like this just wasn't it to me. Like I love the shades Skeleton Keto and Strange Love, if you can't tell, because it's like dirty underneath those two. Those are my two favorite colors in here. And then this color Mean Streak, so I can easily put this on the outer V. Just use these two right here to dust, and then one of these, this one on the lid and that one in the inner corner. That's how I normally do a look with this palette. I'm not super excited about this palette, but I thought it was a nice dark smoky vampy eyeshadow palette that I could give y'all as a suggestion for smoky eyeshadow looks. So that's why I went ahead and put it in here. But it's not one of my favorites. Those aren't usually color stories that I go for. However, this palette I'm about to show y'all is one of my all-time favorites when it comes to grungy smoky eye looks. And I'm so sad that they don't make it anymore, because when you see it, it just personifies one of my many moods in a palette. And this is the Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette. Oh my goodness, y'all. When you see it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's blue, it's tealish green, it's purple, and then they give you like a little nude section for when you're in a rush, you don't have time to use all the fun colors in the palette. Like, oh my god, why would you do that to these people and get rid of this palette as gorgeous as it is? Like one of my signature blue purple looks I love to do with this palette, and it's like now I gotta go into my other palettes and use it because I can't use this one. And I'm sad because this one is so affordable and it was so beautiful. I did just order the Wilderness palette they just came out with. To me it looks really similar to the Lush Life palette, so I'm gonna like compare both of those. I might do a battle of those if you all are interested once I get the palette and like do the initial review. But that palette is stunning. Again, if you can find somebody selling on Bakerie or like Poshmark, go ahead and grab it, get your hands on it while you can. The rest of the palettes I have another melt palette to talk about. Like I'm telling y'all, I am a melt stand for real. I have the Mary Jane palette. This is a really good example of a smoky palette. Like look at how gorgeous this is. I actually really like the shade Mary Jane. It's more of like a topper though, so you can't like actually use it all over the lid unless you get glitter glue and like build it up quite a bit to where it looks like really chunky and not very aesthetically pleasing on the lid. So I would just suggest you use it as a topper. But otherwise, like I really like this palette. The mattes in here I like better than the shimmers though. Like they are somewhat foiled shimmers, but I don't know, I just don't like the shimmer formula on these. Like I wish the shimmer formula on these were like the shimmer formula in the Smoke Sessions palette, because then like this would just be my go-to smoky palette, because it would have great shimmers and it would have great mattes. I just feel like the mattes in here are good and the shimmers in here are just mediocre, if you will. So it's a good colorful smoky palette. Just be advised that the shimmers aren't going to be as good as the mattes are in there. As long as you're okay with that, then you should be okay with that palette, because those smoky mattes are fine. The next two palettes I have to talk about are Pat McGrath. So we're going to start off with the Pat McGrath Dark Star eyeshadow palette. This is from the 2018 collection, I believe, holiday collection. And like the only thing that makes me sad about this palette is I feel like this gold should have been a silver instead, and that would have just made this palette complete. I know she likes her champagnes and golds, but it's like this should have been in silver, and then maybe she could have did like a white dual chromey shade, and that would have just made this palette like perfect for me. The fact that it's like two goldish type shades is what irritates me about this. But otherwise the color story is fire. Like this is a nice shade. All the shades are nice. I just wish two at the top were like silver and went better with the tone of the palette. But since Mother loves gold, you know, like I guess she thinks she got the Midas touch or whatever, that, you know, everything should be gold. But that's what this palette looks like. God, what time is it? Oh, it's 11:30. Yeah, I need to hurry the hell up. So the next palette I have to talk about is a Mothership 1 Subliminal. So I feel like y'all should have known this was in here. Like this is actually the first Mothership palette I bought. Like what I used to do before I was on YouTube, like once a year when my birthday came, I would buy myself a nice Pat McGrath palette, like one of these $125 ones, because I wasn't reviewing stuff, so I didn't have to have the latest thing when it happened. And since Pat McGrath is high, I was like, if I don't go on vacation for my birthday a year, I'll go ahead and buy the palette instead. So I didn't go on vacation that year. So I ended up buying this Mothership 1 palette. And look how stunning and gorgeous it is. It is just absolutely stunning. And I know it's really boring and basic, and I don't normally do boring and basic, but like I was just like, I had to have this palette. Sorry y'all, I don't know why this glue is on my mirror. Oh, I didn't fully pull off the plastic, that's why, because I'm like, what is going on? I didn't pull off all the plastic, that's why. But anyway, that is the completion of this video. As you can see, have a thing about grungy shadows. I am obsessed and raptured, and I feel like I just need to catch them all like they're Pokemon. So don't be surprised I add some more in my collection after this video is over. Oh wait, I'll show y'all the not normal palette. So no, we're not done yet. Well, palette, this video about to be a nightmare editing. I feel it in my spirit. I hope I edited this Alien Cosmetics video better than the last one, because I didn't realize, so this is what happens when you have to edit a whole bunch of stuff and do a whole bunch of stuff while you're sleepy. I didn't realize I hadn't put the rest of the footage together, so when I went to the comparisons, I know y'all was like, what the hell, because it was just empty black space for like a few minutes. My apologies. This is what the not normal palette looks like. As you can see, it's a nice little grungy color story as well, and I will definitely be trying to, I'm gonna try to decide if I'm trying to do 2 or 3 looks with it, or I just stick to one simple look and then do one look for Instagram and then call it a day. I don't know, but anyway, we finally done with this video, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully the 500 giveaway will be up soon, but remember, you all diamonds. I'll see you later. Okay, bye girl.